The Young and the Restless, YNR, spoilers update for Monday, March 16th, indicate that Patty Williams, Stacey Hayduke, will pat herself on the back after getting Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman, to cave in. Diane Jenkins Abbott, Susan Walters, and Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson, Kyle Abbott, Michael Mueller, are all in for a shock on that yacht. First on Monday's YNR episode, Nikki Newman, Melody Thomas Scott, will alert Tracy Abbott, Beth Maitland, to Jack's kidnapping since Victor Newman, Eric Braden, put him out on Lake Michigan with a woman to seduce him. Of course, Nikki won't realize that woman is Patty yet, but Tracy will act like Jack is totally devoted to Diane and wouldn't do anything to hurt her. Diane probably believed that too, which is why it'll be so devastating for her to walk in on Jack and Patty in bed together after they've done the deed. Jack will be spinning out with regrets. By then, the effects of his drugging will have weakened. Although Jack will want to explain, Patty won't see how he could possibly offer an explanation for betraying her with this psychopath. Patty will act like Jack was starved for a real woman, but Diane won't want to hear it. At some point, Billy and Kyle will appear in the doorway, so Billy will admit he wasn't expecting that. Kyle will wonder what Jack's doing and will seem quite outraged on his mother's behalf. Patty will suggest it's a party now, but she'll ultimately gather her clothes and leave after Diane orders her to. Jack won't understand how this happened and will try to talk to Diane privately, but she'll slap him and won't seem willing to listen. Back with Billy, he'll reach out to Tracy over the phone and let her know Jack is safe. Nikki will hear that news and realize Victor's plan has been thwarted by the Abbotts, so she'll rush home to rub it in. At the Newman Ranch, Adam Newman, Mark Grossman, will work to convince Victor Newman, Eric Braden, that it's a good idea for him to go with Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow, to take down Matt Clark, Roger Howarth, in Vegas. Victoria Newman, Amelia Heinley, will end up spilling the beans about Victor kidnapping Jack, so Nick will reach with shock and worry about the fallout. However, Victoria Newman, Amelia Heinley, will understand Victor's willingness to play dirty and will stand her ground on going to Milan on her Summer Newman, last played by Allison Lanier, recruitment mission. At the coffee house, Sharon Newman, Sharon Case, will acknowledge that Nick had a lot of the same concerns as Chelsea Lawson, Melissa Claire Egan, regarding Adam revisiting his past as Spider in Vegas. That said, Sharon will feel confident that Adam's a different person now and that he can handle this, especially with Nick backing him up. Later, Chelsea will seek some comforting words from Adam as they say farewell before his Vegas flight. As for Nikki, she'll return to the ranch and spread the word about the Abbotts saving Jack. Victor will get confirmation from one of his people and mope as Nikki once again rants at him. When Nikki acts like forgiveness may not be possible, the Young and the Restless spoilers say Victor will fire back at her and kick her right out of the house. First, it involved a raw and unfiltered confrontation with Jack. After he returned from his confrontation with the Newmans, Diane demanded answers. She needed to hear from his lips what happened and, more importantly, how he felt about it. The spoilers suggest that Diane would eventually strike Jack across the face in a fit of pure, unfiltered fury. This wasn't just anger. It was the culmination of fear, worry, and ultimate betrayal. She had spent days searching for him, terrified for his life, only to find him in the arms of another woman. The violation was immense. Second, Diane's bold move was a decision about her own future. In the aftermath of the confrontation, she made a choice that would send shockwaves through the Abbott household. Whether it was throwing Jack out, issuing an ultimatum regarding his involvement with the Newmans, or making a power play to secure her place in the family business independent of him, Diane was taking control. She refused to be a passive victim in a drama written by Victor Newman and Patty Williams. Her bold move was a declaration that while her marriage might be on life support, her agency and her will were very much alive. She stormed out, leaving the Abbott men, Jack, Kyle, and Billy, to pick up the pieces of the family fracture. A city in turmoil. As Tuesday's episode came to a close, Genoa City was left more divided than ever. Victor succeeded in wounding Jack, but the blowback threatened to destroy his own marriage. Nate Hastings stepped into the ring as a combatant in the never-ending battle for Lily Winters' heart. And Diane Jenkins, the survivor, took a stand that could redefine her future. With the show preempted for the rest of the week due to March Madness, fans were left to stew over these cliffhangers, wondering if Victor and Nikki could ever recover, if Diane would forgive Jack, and just what Nate plans to do to Kane. The only certainty in Genoa City is that when the dust settles, the landscape of power and love will look drastically different. The calm of Lake Michigan was a cruel illusion on Monday's episode of The Young and the Restless, as the explosive fallout from Victor Newman's disastrous kidnapping plot began to sink the Abbott and Newman families. The episode, airing March 16, 2026, delivered on the promise of high drama, featuring the devastating visual of Jack Abbott's betrayal, the gloating satisfaction of his captor Patty Williams, and a seismic rupture in the Newman household as Victor's rage turned his own wife out into the cold. The unveiling of a nightmare. The episode's most heart-stopping moments unfolded aboard Victor's secluded yacht, where Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman, had been held captive for days. The previous week, viewers watched as Jack fell victim to Patty Williams' Stacey Hayduk's sinister manipulation. She had drugged him, slowly breaking down his resistance until he was left in a compromised and vulnerable state, unable to fend off her advances. Monday's episode picked up in the aftermath of this violation. For days, Diane Jenkins Abbott, Susan Walters, alongside her sons Kyle and Billy, had been frantically searching for the missing patriarch. Their desperate investigation finally led them to the marina and, ultimately, to the yacht where Jack was being held. The tension was unbearable as Diane rushed through the vessel, calling out Jack's name, her voice a mixture of relief and dread. That relief shattered into a million pieces when she burst through a door and was met with a sight no spouse should ever see, her husband, disoriented and ashamed, in bed with Patty Williams. The room fell silent for a heartbeat before chaos erupted. Patty, far from being remorseful, wore a smirk of pure, unadulterated victory. She had finally, in her twisted mind, gotten her man. Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson, summed up the family's shock with a stunned, "Oh wow, this is not what I expected." For Diane, there were no words, only action. She marched up to a stammering Jack, who could only manage a feeble, "I don't know how this happened," and delivered a powerful, resounding slap across his face. It was the sound of a marriage shattering. The look of utter disgust and betrayal in Diane's eyes conveyed more than any screamed insult could. Jack was left exposed, not just physically, but emotionally, stripped of his dignity and left to grapple with the consequences of what he had done, even if he